Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, hi, my name is Alexisjayda and welcome. I'm excited. I'm finally back. I love recording. Today's notification shout out goes to, babe, I'm going to butcher your name. I'm not going to even pronounce it because I'm going to butcher it and I'm probably going to offend. But shout out goes to you. Thank you so much for all your love and support. It truly means so much to me. Thank you so much. And what she said was on point. One of my closest friends once told me, if I can't keep my own secret, how can I expect anyone else to? And it's changed how much I say about my life. So when I read that, I was like, mind blown, because that's so true. Like, I can't even keep secrets from myself. It made a whole lot of sense. You guys, look at this. Look how freaking cute that is. Look at story time. Who raised you? Let's do this. Good vibes. That's so cool, huh? And I got stickers. So freaking cute. I'm freaking obsessed. Mira, I wanted to show you guys story time. And then I have something very special coming as well, but that's for another time. All right, Nanny series. I've been gone for a hot minute. I've been busy with the babe. We've been doing a project and it just was very time consuming. And then the time that I did have to record, I was pooped, you guys. And I didn't want to come on here and not have any energy, just be like I love having energy and being like in a good mood when I record, because I feel like you guys can feel my energy, my vibe. I don't know, when I watch somebody and if I feel like they ain't feeling it, it makes me feel like I ain't feeling it either. Like, it makes me get in mood, you know what I'm saying? So I'm so sorry, but now, ew, my hand farted. But I'm back and better than ever. Just kidding. No, I just feel really excited. I feel really good, really happy. Like, I'm so glad I actually waited and recorded now, because I feel good right now. I already took off my nails. The project me and babe were doing, I was getting paint everywhere and I was like, no. And it just made like my cuticles look all crusty, musty, and dusty. So I was like, no. I have been uploading mini vlogs on my TikTok and my Instagram, and you guys have been liking those and it makes me so happy. I know I'm talking really fast. I'm drinking my coffee and just, but let's get into the Nanny series. This is a series on my channel and I talk about my life and everything that had happened in my past, and we are going in sections of my life. And it's pretty lengthy, it's pretty long, but you guys really enjoy them and you guys make me feel so happy about that. And a lot of you guys can relate, and we just get to, pretty much this is our therapy sesh. Honestly, I feel like this is very therapy for me, therapeutic. I was getting in a little funk the other day, feeling kind of sad, and I was like, I bet you anything's because like I haven't talked to my fam, and I feel like I have like so much, you know what I mean? Because I don't just talk to you about the Nanny series. I kind of like throw in things that are happening now too, or ask you guys for advice, and you guys give me really good advice, especially when I was like, how do you feel when you feel like you told someone, you confided in somebody, and then like it comes out, somebody else knows about it, you know what I'm saying? And you guys just made a lot of sense to me, and I'm like, it's one thing when it's like, you know, in your heart, but it's another when you hear it, and I just kind of just like, ding, it clicks. Let's get into it. Sit back, let me know what you guys are doing. Where are you guys driving to? What are you guys eating? What makeup are you doing? Let me know. I love to know. And if you guys share it on social media, please tag me or use the hashtag or send it to me in DM. I would love to see. I love you guys so much. Now let's get into it. And I feel like I've been catching up for a minute. I've been catching up for a hot minute. So the peaches don't end up coming that night, and I end up sleeping in the garage again. I was cool with it because honestly, it was somewhere for me to lay. I was honestly like, okay, you know what? It's better than being somewhere or something happening to me, because I would always get so scared because of my past and what had happened to me. I always thought like, oh my gosh, this person's gonna do this to me. This person's going to hurt me. Or if like an older gentleman would look at me a certain way, I'd be like, oh, he wants to do this to me. You know, I was very traumatized. Even now, I feel as a grown-ass adult, and the world is pretty effed too, so you can't even really, you know, be too safe or comfortable in this really messed up world we live in, because men, not even just men, but people are pigs, you know? Like I was saying, even now, if an older gentleman looks at me a certain way or gives me just a certain look, I get so uncomfortable. Like, there's a look of like, oh, you know, just looking. And then there's a look of, I don't know how to explain it to you. Once you know that look, or you have experienced getting that look, it's really hard to not ignore that look, was what I'm saying. So anyways, I was just really grateful that I could sleep in the garage, because what if something were to have happened to me and that would be another person who hurt me, you know what I mean? And stupid hand, I'm always like moving my hand a certain way. I would have just had more anger, and it would have been like, damn, again. It sucks knowing that I've been hurt more than once, and it kind of made me feel when I was younger like, damn, like what am I doing for this to happen? I did nothing. I was a child, and people preyed on me because I was probably an easy target, and people knew that like no one really cared, so it was easier for people to prey on me, be nasty with me, because I had nobody. It was easy. It was an easy target, and I did have nobody, and that's why. I stayed in the garage that night, and I literally just remember laying there and kind of just feeling bad for myself for a little bit, and then I kind of like just snapped out of it, because in my brain I would always tell myself, this is just for now. I'm going to fast forward someday without even knowing, and it's going to be in a good part. Just hold on, Alexis, because before you know it, it's gonna get good. And this is just something that is just gonna be a blur. And I think that's what helped me too, honestly. I really think that's what helped me, because a lot of the times I would talk to myself that way, or I don't know who it was that put it in my head, but when I was younger, someone, I don't know who it was, probably a therapist or something, told me that like time's going to pass anyways. You just have to wait. You just have to like write it out pretty much. And that's how sometimes I look at things, where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And I'm like, okay, you know what? It's just like a roller coaster. We just have to ride through it, and then we're going to get off. Like, it's going to take time, but we're going to get off. Like, we just have to sit there just a little bit longer. This roller coaster is just a little bit longer than the other ones. Like, it will be okay. Like, we just have to wait. We gotta be patient, and this ride is gonna be a little bit longer than other ones, so we just have to ride it out, chill out. And that's how I was talking to myself in the garage. I asked you guys if you guys talk to yourself in your head, and some people said no, but me, I would talk to little Lex in my head and be like, we got this, we're gonna chill, it's gonna be okay. And that's how I would just kind of just zone out and be in my head, which wasn't always a good thing, because it was really easy for people to creep up on me, because I was so busy like in my head talking to myself like, you good, like we're gonna do this, like don't even trip, and everyone is going to have payback and blah blah blah, you know, in my head, because of how I felt. Well, I was so much in my head that I didn't even notice that Sam made her way in the garage with me, and she kind of had like a little like blanket over her, because you know it would get a little bit chilly. And so she made her way in, and she's like, can we talk? And I was like, sure. Because I didn't want to be mean, because she could have been like, get the F out. You have an attitude? Go, you know? So she could have been rude. So I was like, sure. Whatever. I was like, sure. Even though I wasn't doing nothing, I'm like, oh, that's where I should put my sticker. Even though I wasn't doing anything on my phone, I didn't want to really talk to her. Sometimes I'm like in the middle. I'm really, really good with confrontation, and I can be like, but then there's sometimes where like my body just feels so numb, and it's not because like I'm intimidated or I feel like, oh, this or oh, that. It's just my body gets so weird on me, and I can't function correctly, and it just feels awkward. So she comes in, she's like, can I talk? And she has her cobija over her blanket, you know, trying to be all cute. I don't know if she was trying, but I swear, most of the time I feel like girls are just like naturally doing cute shit, and then there's me like looking like a sack of potatoes, you know what I mean? Potatoes. She comes in and she wants to tell me like, hey, I just want you to know that I really am sorry, and I've been thinking about what you said, you know, that happened to you, and I just want to apologize because it's pretty messed up, and you've been nothing but like nice to me, and you know, taking me out, and you didn't have to, and you've been there, and all this crazy stuff that's been happening with my family, you never once judged, and just kind of like hyping me up, you know, like you a real one, you know. And so I was like, listening, trying not to smile. It literally sucks when you hear you're such a good person and oh, you're so this and you're so that, because you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, because you're waiting for that. But you know, because if I was such a good person, I'm such a nice person, then why did you do what you did? Like, I don't understand. And I really hate when people can't tell you and they hit you with that stupid ass shit of I don't know. How don't you know? Like, is it because you're too much of a fucking to say why? Because you are scared that I'm going to judge you more? Like, I already look at you like this. Like, how much more can I look at you like this? Like, you're gonna make me throw up or what? She's talking and I'm literally having like a fight in my head because she keeps saying pretty much that she doesn't know why she did what she did and she's sorry and she hopes that things can go back to normal because the peaches are going to be coming back and there's going to be a little bit of drama. And every time I would say like, why is there going to be drama? But I knew inside that she probably was upset about what happened because I wasn't, you know, answering her, that she probably said more than she should have to the peaches. And that's just because that's just how some people are. Not a lot of people can think about what's going to happen after, or like they don't think ahead, you know. Some people just react because they are going off their emotions and they don't understand like, oh, hey, we probably can be cool, so maybe I shouldn't do all this and pour more gasoline on it, because what if things end up okay and I already ruined it? And I feel like the reason why I thought like that a lot is because I was constantly put in situations when I was younger and always had to think about the what if this or what if that. It sucks reading my diary and me thinking like, why the hell was I thinking about all of this? I should have just, who thinks like that? Like, it really makes me mad. And it makes me feel like, because I've always had to take other people's feelings into consideration of like, don't pop off because then this is going to have a domino effect of this, or it's going to affect this. So I was always thinking this way, and I still think this way because I always feel like I'm in like survival mode, and I always feel like I have to think of other people's feelings because that's how I was raised and brought up. And even though it means like pushing my feelings to the bottom, I always had to think of others. And so as she's talking, I'm trying so hard not to be upset because I'm already thinking in my head of like, oh, she's already trying to set me up of like, there's gonna be some drama because I said something or this or that, you know. She's already letting me know, but trying to sugarcoat and trying to fluff up what's going to happen. So I keep trying to ask her like, what you mean? And she's like, no, like I just want us to be tight like when they come back, and I don't want, you know, any issues, and I don't want you to feel any way. And I'm like, why would I feel any way? Like, did you say something? Like, just let me know so I know what to do. And she's like, well, you really can't do much. And that pissed me off because people treat you a certain way because they think you're stuck. And her saying that really irked me like a lot. Her saying like, oh, you really can't do much. Like, what the hell you mean I can't do much? I suffer like this because this is what works right now, but I can break and move myself and do other stuff and make that work too. Like, don't feel that like, oh, you can't go far. I can skip and hop and jump and do all that, but I'll get going. I'll get going. I might move like a tortoise, but I'll get going. I'm like letting her know, like, no, I can go somewhere else, Sam. Like, don't think that I need your family's money so badly that I can't go anywhere else. I'm like, I might have confided in you and told you the stuff that me and my ex are going through, but don't get it twisted. If I need to do this and that, I will do that. Don't think that I am stuck and I don't have anywhere else to go. No, Alexis, like, you see, like, it's so hard to talk to you because you just always want to go from like 1 to 10. Just let me talk. How am I going 1 to 10, Sam? You just said that, like, how am I not stuck? And I'm talking to you, right? My voice is calm, and I'm making sure that I'm not like getting rowdy or being disrespectful or swearing at you, because sometimes when you swear at a person, it makes them feel even like, what the, you know, and it gets them in their mood, even though that might just be your flavor of combo, you know, of just throwing a little and a little huh in there. You know what I'm saying? It might just be the way you talk. I've had to switch how I talk to certain people. I know certain people I can talk to this way and they won't be offended, code switch. And I know there's some people that I can't and I have to talk to them this way because they will get offended. I adjust to how everyone is so that I know, cause I know not everyone moves the same. So she was trying to, you know, make me feel like I was being, you know, crazy, and I wasn't, because I made sure to talk to her right, and I made sure that like not to get a little bit rowdy with her because I got nowhere to go, you guys. I need to sleep, and even if it's in the freaking garage, I'm cool with sleeping in the garage. So anyways, so she continues to tell me like, no, like I'm just saying, like, I don't know why, I'm just like a little bit of I'm just a little worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, and I just don't want anything to happen to us because I want to get better and I want to be friends with you. Like I want us to be close again. And so I just tell her like, okay, yeah, like I get you. So I just, you know, tell her, I was gonna say calm down, but I wasn't even getting rowdy. So I just kind of like relax a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, you know, like maybe she is just a little bit worried, anxiety probably is kicking in. Maybe she didn't even say anything. Maybe it's just anxiety, and she probably feels like, oh, maybe if I did vent to them a little bit, or who knows, because sometimes I get it. I overthink everything, and I think that's why sometimes I read too much into things. And I think that's why sometimes I can't do certain things, because if I read too much into the situation, I'll just psych myself out. And I'm like, nah, don't need it, don't want it, I can't. So she just continues to just go on. I just let her, and I'm like, okay. She tells me like, do you want company? Do you want me to sleep in here tonight? And I tell her like, yeah, sure. Sometimes people offer just because they think you're going to say no. So to be an ass, sometimes I like to be like, yeah, okay. Cause I'm like, you know, you don't want to. Like, it's just one of those things, like you're trying to be nice. It's cool. She goes back inside and she brings out this little like DVD thing that they have, like a DVD player, screen thingy looking bajigger. We're just sitting there. She put something on. We're just sitting there watching it. You could just totally tell she was just like not with it. Like she didn't want to stay in there, which asshole, but it's okay. I don't want to get it, but I understand it. So I kind of catch the vibe of she's just probably waiting until I knock out. So I began to fake like I'm knocking out, and sure enough, I was right. She starts to nudge me and she's like, hey, are you going to be okay? Do you think it's okay if I just like go inside? I don't know, I'm just kind of like, you know, it's kind of just weird. I don't know, I kind of want to give you your privacy. And I'm not asleep, but I'm acting like, I'm like, what? Yeah, sure, yeah, I get it, yeah. And she's like, are you gonna be mad? Like, I don't want you to be mad. No, it's fine. You know, go ahead, go. And so she goes inside and she like tells me that she's going to leave the DVD thingy outside to keep me company. I don't know if it's because she wasn't raised with like manners and she just got to do a lot of things and like wasn't really, that's rude. That's really, really rude. But not everyone's the same. Like, and I've always said this to you guys, no one has the same heart as you. Nadie. But there is people out there that kind of ride the same as you and wouldn't do something like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying like, oh my God, it's such like a big deal that she left me outside by myself. I was in a garage. It's fine. But the thing is, like, that's just, don't fake the funk. You should have never been like, oh, I'll stay out here with you, and then out and be like, I just can't. And you think I want to? Again, I know it's not your problem. I know it's not, you know what I mean? I get it, but I've been in situations where I don't want to do it, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to for you, you know? You think I wanted to follow her at the freaking campsite that one time when she wanted to take off and was in her feelings? You think I wanted to be in that situation that she put me on when we're on the boat? No, but I couldn't leave her. So I just always remember things like this and I write them down in my book. You know, if you have bailed on me in a time where I'm like kind of like in a vulnerable situation, you ain't nothing, and I'm never gonna trust you with my life, because I know that you are scared. And some are gonna be like, oh my God, Alexis, that's a little bit dramatic. You're in the garage. It's not, because that's something so tiny And it's like, if you could do so, you could do some, you can't even do me a favor when it's something that tiny, then you can't even do me something, you can't even do me a favor when it's something big. You know, you get what I'm saying? Anyways, I get in my feelings about it because it still pisses me off. I ended up just really knocking out because you know how you sometimes you just lay there and you're like faking asleep and then you ended up passing out. That was me. I ended up for real falling asleep and waking up to a car door closing, and I just knew it was the Peaches. Dun dun dun. So I can hear them, I can hear the kids' feet hit the pavement, and they're just, you know, ready to go inside, all excited. And I get a text message from Sam saying not to get out yet, just to wait there. I don't even know what the big deal was. I think it's just like us probably making it a big deal because I was in the garage, or because they didn't want me there. I don't know. I don't know why we were, because I still remember that feeling, and even makes my mustache sweat. I still remember feeling like, oh my God, we're doing something bad, when technically we really weren't. I hear them go inside, and as soon as I feel like they get inside, I get a text message from Mrs. Peach, and she asks me that if I'm gonna be able to come in today, that the place is a mess. Which it's not, you guys. Like, it's really not. I don't know if it's because in a weird way, I'm just like, oh, she cares and she just wants me to be there, and she'll know that like I'm safe if I'm there, or if I'm just giving an excuse for her. My husband says I tend to do that a lot, that I lead people to the answer that I want, because, or like if someone does something and I'm like, you know, I'm giving them excuses. He's like, you always lead people to things that it's like they didn't even really care about, and you just gave them the perfect excuse of like why they are a person. That was my way of thinking, where I'm like, you know, maybe she was checking or seeing the house was a mess so I could be there. It wasn't a mess, but whatever. I tell her like, okay, yeah, I can be there. It shouldn't be a mess. I left there late, and that it was clean when I left. And she says, well, it doesn't look clean to me. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I just pick up, and the DVD thing that we were using, well, I was using technically, I guess, was dead. So I just closed it, folded the blankets, and then I just kind of waited until they were upstairs. The reason why I knew that they were upstairs is because I was texting Sam, and I'm like, let me know when they go upstairs so that I can leave her out the back. And she's like, yeah, okay, cool. Ask her if Baltimore is there, and she says no. So I'm like, okay, cool, because I don't want Baltimore to see me either, and her to like have anything over me, because F that hootah. So she tells me that they're upstairs, that they're getting the kids showered, and I'm like, okay, cool, this is going to be my time to leave and then fake like I just got there, right? I didn't even think about like, oh, there's gonna be cameras, they're gonna see us. That wasn't something that I thought about, you know, but it comes into play later. So it wasn't something I was thinking about like, oh, the cameras or oh this. So I literally got out of the garage, left the blanket and the DVD player in there because I didn't want to hold it and then open the door, and then my luck, someone comes downstairs and they're like, oh, why do you have that? And then it'd be a situation. So as I'm going to the front door, I see Baltimore, and she's kind of like, I don't know, she was pulling up, but she's kind of like, she could be leaving or she could be coming. And she asks me like, oh, why are you here so early? I'm like, oh, you know, Mrs. Peach, she wanted me here. And she was like, huh. I'm like, okay. Because I wasn't in the mood. I wasn't in the mood to entertain her weirdness or her, I don't know. It always felt like they were always trying to, or her, like she was always trying to like catch me in something. You know how like sometimes your parents want you to tell on yourself? That's how she constantly made me feel like uncomfortable. Like I constantly had bubble guts around her. I was like, okay. Like I didn't even acknowledge her. Like honestly, I was just like, okay, dude, whatever. Like you're weird. Go somewhere. Go do something. Get bent. So I go inside, and then I see Sam, and she's kind of like smiling, but kind of like awkward, like that, where it looks like she just got punched in the gut. So I asked her, I'm like, you good? And she's like, mm-hmm. And so I just get to cleaning. There's a couple things on the floor where I'm like, okay, it was probably Sam, because she just does not care. So I just start picking up the stuff, and she asks me like where the things are, and I'm like, oh, I left them in the garage. You know, we're kind of like whispering to each other, not too loud, But she was like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah. I finally see Mrs. Peach, and she comes down and she has an envelope. And she's like, here, this is your paycheck from where we've gone. What have you been up to? And I'm like, oh, nothing really. And she's like, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. So rude, ask me like what I've been up to. And then that's someone who doesn't care. They're just trying to like, okay, I'm gonna act like I care, but I got things to do. So like, come on. So she takes me into the room that they have, like a little like office type room. And she's like, I'm gonna ask you a question and I don't want you to lie to me. She could be very intimidating with how she came across, because it was like mom vibe to the max, you know? And so I tell her, I'm like, okay, like, what's wrong? And she asks me, was anyone in the house? And I'm like, what do you mean? Because it wasn't me being a smartass. Like I need to understand like what you're asking, because it's weird. And she goes, don't play stupid with me. That made me so freaking mad. Like if my mom and I don't even really talk like that, well, when she was good, you know, what makes you think that like you could talk to me like that? So my face could always, you could tell my face when someone like got me fucked up. My nose flare up, I get into like the bull, like, ooh, you messing with my horns, don't do it. She goes, don't play stupid with me. And I'm like, no one's playing stupid with you. So I have a face. And she's like, change your face. I'm like, I'm not gonna change anything. So she would just like attitude, like, holy crap. Like she came in hot. No hello, how you doing? No nothing. So when she tells me not to play stupid with her, I kind of was like, what? I was like, don't talk to me like that, Mrs. Peach. Please don't talk to me like that. So I kind of had to like let her know, like, like I'm not the one, bitch. I'm not the one. Like I will expose you. Just kidding. But I was like, because I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't liking where this was going, and it was making me feel uncomfortable. I don't know what happened. And right away I'm like, oh, she's probably mad at Mr. Peach, but that is not my problem at all. I don't care if you and your mans are mad and he like gave you a purple nurple. You don't come at me with that kind of heat. She goes like this. I'm sorry. It's just, was there anyone here? I need to know what happened in my house when I wasn't here. Who was here, Alexis? And that's how she talked to me. And I told her, from what I know, it's just been me and Sam. That's it. And like Baltimore came that one time here and there, but that's all. And then she tells me, I keep wanting to like use my hands. I'm such a talker with my hands. I want to show you something. And I'm like, okay. She goes and shows me one of the cameras, and I'm thinking like, oh, she's gonna see me sneaking in. She's going to see me. This is going to be embarrassing. So I'm kind of like, what am I gonna say? And I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't got anywhere to go. Like, period. Like, that's period. Like, I don't have anywhere to go. Like, why am I like so embarrassed, you know? And she shows me one of the cameras, and she's like, who unplugged the cameras? And in my head, while she's talking, I'm like, that bitch. She unplugged the cameras. I could have been sleeping inside the house. She is such a dickhole. Like, oh my God. I'm like, so she could have unplugged the cameras. I could have been in, okay. So I'm like, And so I tell her, like, because I really don't know. I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, someone has been plugging them back in. Certain times I'm plugging them back out. So you were meaning to tell me you don't know nothing about it. I'm like, no, I don't. I really don't. I was like, I didn't even know that was an option. I don't know what I thought. I don't know if I thought they ran off, I don't know, something. I don't know. I'm like, but it wasn't me. Because honestly, I did not know. So it was not me. So she's like upset. Like she wants me to give her some sort of answer. She keeps like pressing me about it. And like, it's one of those things where it's like, dude, I don't know. Like, just because you keep pressing me about it does not mean that I'm going to magically have an answer for you. I'm sorry. So I just keep telling her, and she goes, honestly, I don't even think I can see you today. And I'm like, okay, because it was not. So I'm like, okay. And then she's like, maybe when you have an answer, you can come back. I'm like, Mrs. Peach, no, I'm not gonna have an answer. So do you want me to come or do you not want me to come? And she says, you know what, Alexis, I can't even see you today. So upset, where I'm like, damn, okay. I don't even, okay. So I just take my envelope, and before I walk out, something in my gut was like, check that shirt. So I was like, I'm gonna check it. Open the little envelope. just by looking at it, I was like, that did not add up to what I am owed. So I go back into the room, and as I'm going back into the room, I see Mrs. Peach there. She's looking like even more annoyed. Like, oh my God, you really checked it before you left. And she's like, what's the problem? And so I tell her, I'm like, there's some money missing. She's like, no, there's not. I'm like, yes, there is. No, there's not. So we go back and forth, and I don't know why, but my head was like, ooh, Sam is messing with my money, because since she keeps unplugging the cameras, now they're going to be like, well, we didn't see that you were here, right? Okay, I know not everyone thinks that much, but I think a lot. And I really hate when people are like, you really thought about all that? Yes, bitch, I did. Because again, I have that brain of like survivor mode. And then there's some times where like the shit is blank, like it's burnt out, okay? You exhausted me brain. So anyways, so I tell her like, yeah, it's missing. And she's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. And she like tries to tell me to like lower my tone, which makes me mad because I was kind of getting kind of like hot, but I wasn't like, where's my money? I wasn't talking to her like that. I was just like, no, but like it's missing. Like I kept having to tell her like, no ma'am. And so Mr. Peach comes in and he's not wearing a shirt. So as soon as he comes in, I look away because I'm like, I don't know. It just always makes me feel weird. I feel weird around men sometimes where I just get like weird, and females, us females can get kind of some way. I was gonna say females, but like I'm a female, you know? So I just look away because I'm like, I'm not even trying to piss her off or her use it as an excuse. Like, why are you looking at him like that? So I just look away, and then he's like, what's going on? And she tells him someone unplugged the cameras, and then he was like, okay, so why are you talking to her? Why are you not talking to Sam? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Drink your water, guys. So we continue to go back and forth of the cameras are off, and she's not saying like, oh, she did it, but I already know where this is going, and I know what you're implying because I'm not stupid. I'm not early to the game. I'm the coach, I'm the referee, I'm the player, I'm all of it. Okay? I know what the heck is going on. Jay's fighting with her brothers. She's always fighting with her brothers. She's not saying like, oh, she turned off the cameras. I think that she knows that it was Sam, but she's trying to put it on me because they were gone for quite some time and they had me there. She probably don't want to pay me. She's probably like, you know what? It's different when you pay someone like out weekly or every other day versus when you have to give them like a good lump sum, you know what I'm saying? I have my hand out and she looks at me like why is it there? And I'm like, can you please pay me? And Mr. Peach, he's like, yes, Alexis, of course we're going to pay you. Don't be silly. And I hate when he would talk to me like that. Like, oh, you kidder. Like, so I didn't even want to argue with him and be like, don't talk to me like that. Fuck you talk to. So I was like, okay. He goes out. And as he's going out, he's like, I'll be right back. I'm like, okay. I'm like, how much does he think that I owe or what? They probably were like, let's see if we can get away with it. I'm telling you, I'm constantly thinking because I'm like, he didn't ask me how much more I needed. So he's gone and me and her are just in the room quiet. And so I'm like, I'm gonna go wait outside because this is weird. So I'm walking towards the door of the office and she's like, wait. And so I ask her, I'm like, yeah. And she tells me that if I know who was here, and I tell her, I'm like, Mrs. I always want to say her name, man. I always want to, but I'm like, no. And I'm telling you the truth. I don't know. Why would I risk it? I don't want to lose this job. But if this is going to be an issue, then it's okay. Like, I understand. I can find other work. She tells me, like, I don't mean to take it out on you, Alexis, but just things aren't adding up. And that's how she was talking to me, and it grinds my gears because I swear I have like PTSD and I have like flashbacks of like a lot of the way these people would talk to me. And I say these people because it's not just her or him, it's them people over there. So I'm like looking at her and I'm like, no, like I'm serious. Like, I don't know who was here. And if the cameras were off, it's probably when I wasn't here. And she's like, you and Sam were together the whole time? I'm like, no. I'm like, is that what she told you? We can call her in right now. Because I wanted to get all this out. Like, no. Because I really hate when people don't sit all parties down when they want to talk about something. Because you never know what that person's saying. And I've been in situations like that a lot where it's like, well, I'll talk to her and see what she says. She goes talk to her. Well, she said this. I don't like that. I like us all to sit down and let's all talk. And 9 times out of 10, no one wants to do that because they know like, oh shoot, I'm gonna be on the spot. And they want to use the excuse of like, I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. The liar, you don't want the liar to feel uncomfortable? Okay, like stupid. So I'm like, we can call her in right now. She's like, no, that's not necessary. I'm like, I think it's necessary because I don't want to go and I don't want to do this whole back and forth. If something was said, I want to clear my name because I wasn't with her the whole time, like at all. It's like, no, I believe you. I just don't know what to do with that girl. And she was gonna start complaining and I just cut it off because that's grown folk talk. That's none of my business. So I'm like, oh, okay. And so I let it be known like that, like, oh, okay, because I don't need to know. Like, you don't need to go any further. Was it rude? Yes, but I don't need to know how Sam is difficult. I don't need to know anything. It's none of my business, and this is weird. As I tell her that, Mr. Peach walks in and hands me the amount that's missing. And he's like counting it out to me, handing me the amount. So I'm like, you fake too, because how would you even, okay, you fake. So I'm walking out and she tells me like, where are you going? And I'm like, oh, you said that you can't see me. You don't want to look at me right now. So I'm going to go. And so he looks at her like, what the fuck were you saying while I was gone? You know, probably like, ugh. So he looks at her and she looks at him like, what? So then she's like, okay, so I'll see you tomorrow. I'm like, is that when you want to see me? And I know it was a smart mouth because if I would have done that in front of my grams or my mom, it would have been a. So she's like, yes, that's when I want to see you. Like that little flared nose. I'm like, okay, cute are you, okay. So as I'm walking out, Sam slides out with me and I'm like, you got me so messed up right now. Like, we are not 2 peas in a pod no more. No, we are 2 boxers in a ring, bitch. We are not going to do this again. So she's walking out with me and I'm like, oh no. And she's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I'm not going with you. I'm like, okay, because yeah, no, no. And I know that probably hurt her feelings. I know it was rude. I know I would have felt stupid. I have felt stupid in occasions like that, but every time I took her somewhere, it was bad. Every single time. And like, just because, no. And I was mad because you almost messed with my money. I was mad because you turned off the cameras and I could have slept in the house. So you're dirty, you're grimy, you ugly. Like, not face wise, but personality wise, that's fake. So I'm walking and right away I start texting. And I stopped myself because I was gonna start texting Skillet and be like, hey, I got some money, like, let's go eat. But I stopped myself and then I got upset because I'm like, oh, I have no friends and I want to go out to eat. You know how sometimes when you get paid and you're like, keep, ooh, you know? And I couldn't because I had nobody. So I stopped myself from texting her and I text another friend. This is another good friend that I still talk to this day. And I just wanted to have like a friend. I wanted comfort, you know, I wanted like human interaction. And this friend I've had for quite some time. I did do a story time on her and I named her Skillet. I didn't even think about like, oh, we already named, didn't even think about it. Yeah, so we'll call her Biscuit. Skillet Biscuit. Ew, that was an ugly ass laugh. Why'd you do that? You pissed me off. Ew, you ugly ass. Ew. I hate when I get too hyped and like, ew, I feel gross. Don't look at me, don't look at me. We were really, really, really good friends. We were really, really tight at a point in time, but with friendship, sometimes you just grow apart and like there doesn't have to be any beef. So I'll give you the backstory of Biscuit. Me and her were really, really close when we were in school. We did a lot of hood rat stuff together. She was there a lot when things popped off. And if you guys remember, she's the one that went out with the ex for like a day or two. And I did a story time on it. A day or two and I was like, what the hell, really her? And then she like apologized and it kind of like dampened our friendship a little bit because I was like, I could never trust you. I could never ever in my life trust you because me and him are already like intimate until when she dated him. So what happened was he dumped me. He called me. He was like, hey, how would you feel if I you know, like Biscuit? I was like, you like Biscuit? What the hell? You will always talk smack on Biscuit. So you like her like that? Like, no, like she's off limits. Biscuit called me and was like, hey, how would you feel if I was like, Biscuit, are you serious? You're my girl. Like, really? And I remember crying like a little bitch. And he called. Bendico was like, so how did you feel? I told you how I was feeling. I'm not gonna change my answer, so go ahead and do it if you want. I don't care. I shouldn't have said that because I cared a lot. They ended up going out for like, it was literally, I think like a day or two. I want to say, but I don't think it was 2 days. I think it was just one. But it felt like a lifetime because the next day at school, she had the nerve to wear my hoodie because we shared a locker. Me and this girl, we shared everything. And her and Greg, he had to come in and anyways. So she took my hoodie out of the locker and I was like, you gonna take my man's? You gonna take my hoodie? Some nerve you got. Take it off. I really was like, take it off right now. She's like, I can't take it off. I'm wearing a tank top or something underneath. I was like, I don't give a fuck. Take it off. And so me and her are fighting and I was really like, I wanted to beat her. Not because she was with him, but because like the disrespect. Like I felt so hurt. And like till this day, me and her still kind of like talk about it. Like if we bring it up and she's like, I am so sorry. And I'm like, it's okay. me and Biscuit, we have history too. She was like my first like skillet, you know, but in life you have more than like one best friend, you know what I mean? Two best friends in a room, they might kiss. But Biscuit and I, we have a lot of history. Anyways, if you guys want to know more, they ended up, he ended up calling it off, or she, I don't know. And she like went and told the principal that I wanted to beat her butt. And I was like, just kidding. But yeah, she really did. And I was like, so you was snitch and a boyfriend stiller, okay? I was pissed. I was like, girl, you really got me messed up. Like I was so hot, you guys. Like my friends were like, I told you about Biscuit. And I'm like, shut up, because I really love Biscuit. And so I was like, like when they were telling me, I told you, and I was like, And I felt so dumb because everyone knew how much I liked this dude, and everyone at school was like, isn't that your best friend? I was like, yes it is. Sharing is caring, bitch. And I was like trying to make a joke out of it, but low-key I was like hurt. And this girl that I had fought, she was like, that's funny. And I just remember just wanted to claw her face out. Like I really wanted to just like claw her face. But I was like, you're not worth it. He's not worth it. You're not worth it. I'm not doing it anymore. But funny thing was, so he was dating my best friend, right? His best friends were like, let me talk to you. And I'm like, talk. Just kidding. No, I was like, talk, bark, walk, do something, what? And I didn't entertain them because they're stupid too. Like, y'all stupid. Todos son stupid. But I never told him, but they were like talking to me and be like, all his little friends talking to me and we're like, he's so stupid, I wouldn't do that, blah blah blah, writing me letters and stuff. Throughout that whole day, felt like eternity, I'm telling you. But that whole day they both were writing me letters and telling me like, hey, are you okay? Yes or no. Or like how they write your name out in blocks and stuff, and like A means this, L means this, E. Yeah. So yeah. So anyways, I want to give you guys a little backstory. And a lot of you guys are like, you have to make it up. You've been gone a week. You better make the story long and juicy. So I was like, okay. Hope you guys don't mind me telling you guys a little backstory of Biscuit. So Biscuit, in a story time, I put it here when we were out and we went to a little party and I threw the drink in Nex's face. That is Biscuit, who I named Skillet at the time, but she's no longer Skillet because Skillet has her own storyline in this storm. So next time when I mention Biscuit, don't confuse it with the old. You know what I'm saying? I hope I made sense. I hit up Biscuit. We hadn't talked in a while because we would tend to like hang out and then go ghost on each other. And she was going through her own little phase of like new friends, and she didn't like the ex and stuff. It sounds funny. I know you guys are thinking like, oh, now she don't like him. Yes. okay, she made a mistake and maybe I'm too forgiving, but that piecer is no longer in my life and Biscuit is still in my life, okay? And he ain't shit, okay, when he ain't nothing. She was like hanging out with her own friends and I tell her like, hey, what you doing? She's like, oh, nothing. I'm like, do you want to hang out? And she was like, oh yeah, sure. Because it's been a minute. Like we had not hung out in a minute. So I was like, okay. So I go hang out with her and I noticed that stupid Sam is like doing like, acting like she's doing something, but she's not doing something. And I didn't give in, y'all. I did not give in. I was like, that's not my problem. Sucks to suck, bitch. Sucks to suck. Go suck on air. Go do something productive. Just kidding. So I start walking and Biscuit's dad picked me up. And so me and Biscuit just start hanging out, having fun, just reminiscing. I'm telling her like, yeah, like my mom like still, you know, it's not good, but she getting there. She's like telling me at the time about these, it's so funny because there was these boys that she would hang out with and they're very nice, you know? And I was so used to what my type was that when she brought me around her type, I was like, oh, okay. It was just something different, you know? And so we hung out for a little bit. I asked her if I could sleep at her place and she was like, yeah, of course. So I know it sounds kind of pathetic. I know I love you guys so much. When you guys are like, Jade, stop talking to yourself like that. I know, but it's just so hard because that's just how I feel in my soul, in my heart. I felt like pathetic, but I was a child. So she lets me stay there for that night and we just hang out, we just reminisce on just like what's been going on, catching each other up because we haven't really been around each other. And I sleep at her house. In the morning my mom asks me if she can pick me up and if we can just like go spend the day together. I'm like, yeah, sure, like I would love to. So my mom picks me up the next day. Me and my mom were talking and as we're talking my phone just keeps going off. I look at my phone and I see the messages from Sam, Mr. Peach and Mrs. Peach, and they're asking pretty much of what happened to the DVD player Bajigger that was in the garage and who broke it. So Mr. Peach was asking me pretty much like who broke it. Sam's asking me, not even asking me, pretty much like what the hell did you do to it? And Mrs. Peach is like, why did you break it? I felt like if I did something wrong, even though I didn't, because first of all, I'm not the one who brought it out, it was Sam. And second of all, I made sure to put it down nicely because it's like one of those things where you're like, I don't want to break it, I don't want to break it. And then like you end up breaking in that thing that you like, you know? And so I'm like, well, so I call Sam because I'm like, I call Sam and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like I left it in there, nothing was wrong with it. Like what did you do to it? And she doesn't even like talk or anything. She just hangs up and I'm like, hello? My mom's asking me like, what's going on? And I'm like, I can't even talk to her. I feel like there's like just like a lot of bubbles in my stomach and I'm like, what the heck? So I call Mr. Peach because I'm like, obviously Mrs. Peach just thinks that like I'm just like some shit of a kid or something. So I call Mr. Peach and I'm like, hey, like I didn't break it. He's like, what was it doing in the garage? And I'm like, I was sleeping in the garage because I had nowhere to go. Silence. It was just silence. And he's like, are you gonna come in today so we can talk about it? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna go in until later. And he was like, okay, I'll see you then. So that's where I'm going to end it because it gets really, really just, but I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for all your support and your love. I love you guys. Te quiero mucho. I won't have you guys waiting long. I promise. I'm going to be back to recording. I love you guys so much. Besos a todos. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.